What's good, guys? It's TSG, and today we're going to be having a chat with Vetemor discussing his Illuminati Council nomination. Hope you guys enjoy. What's good, guys? It's TSG, and today we're going to be having a chat with Vetemor, one of the Illuminati Council nominees. What's good, man?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. It's nice to be on here.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that we can actually talk like this as well. Tell me, Matt, how's your day? Like, how are you feeling? What's going on? Just a general buzz.
I'm feeling good. Nothing too much new, and just looking forward to get this nomination through. So I'm going to be, as soon as we get off this, I'm actually going to put the nomination through. I actually haven't done it yet. I need to.
Yeah, that's super cool. I'm actually really keen for this one because I know that you nominated yourself last time, but with all the text in it, with every nomination, it's really hard to kind of see where people stand. So you being another content creator, I am keen to see where you stand on a lot of these things. Yeah, all right, let's not waste
to answer your questions.
Yeah, cool. Let's not waste any time. Let's just get straight into it. Yeah. So the format of this that I've been doing with everyone else is I've been giving everyone the same questions, and the reason for that is I wanted everyone to showcase their perspective and their ideas on specific points, so give it a fair playing field. You know what I mean? So we're going to start with some easy
I think
questions.
That's the best way to do it, because then everyone answers the same questions and you can actually clearly judge between them. Whereas if everyone's just ad-libbing, it's really hard to tell the difference between two people.
Correct, because this is like we're trying to elect the people that we feel represent us the most. So the same questions, we can see who represents our feelings and whatnot. So yeah, I'm just going to start off with some simple questions, and this is going to get a bit harder as they go on. They're not really that difficult, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Go for it, bro.
Yeah, all right, cool. First question, man, super easy. It's a two-part question. How long have you been in the Illuvium community for? And what is it about Illuvium that made you stick around? Because there's a lot of hopping about projects and whatnot. So, yeah, your thoughts on that?
So I've been in the Illuvium project probably like 8 months. I'd have to double check because time keeps passing and that number changes. But I think it's about 8 months. And the reason why I've stuck with Illuvium and haven't hopped around is because I haven't found anything quite like the moment. So I heard about it on basically On-Chain Gaming's video about Illuvium. I think he had Kieran on, and that was the first time I actually made a Discord account. I made a Discord account just to join the Illuvium Discord and see what's up. And after one day in the Illuvium Discord, I sold all of my Axes, all of them, got rid of all of that. And I was like, yeah, we're going into this. And after 2 weeks of being in the Illuvium Discord, my entire crypto portfolio was in Illuvium. So, and then I just haven't looked back since, because what I found with Illuvium is the deeper you get, the better it looks. And that's what I found back then. And to this day, I still feel that way, because this isn't one of those projects where you're in it for a quick pump and dump or anything. Yeah, this is actually a long-term blue chip project that actually can be the future of GameFi, or at least a big part of it. Because obviously there will be other companies that come up, and there's nothing wrong with that, because different companies do different things. But I think Illuvium it's just miles beyond anything else out there right now in not only their tokenomics, not only in their game design, but the way that it's all put together and their ethos and it just stacks up and it's integrated everything. Yeah.
It's actually pretty funny because your experience is similar to mine. I didn't have the Axie thing, but everything else is pretty similar. All right, so moving on to the next question, man, is why did you nominate yourself, and how do you think you can represent the community?
So the way that I think that I can represent the community is, first and foremost, by actually spreading sort of awareness of governance. Because I don't think that right now people are that aware of what's taking place. One of the things that I actually want to do is actually put a proposal forward, even to maybe include, for example, during this nomination period, we've got 7 days to not get nominated, and then there's 3 more days of break and then it's the voting. But like that 3 days of break where people are told who's like actually like been nominated, like during that 3 days, a bunch of the community might just be busy and just not have the time to look at that, right? So I think that should be at least a week, maybe 2 weeks, because like this is like a big deal. And also the question then comes like, should epochs be 3 months? Should they be 4, 5, or maybe even 6 months to kind of make it worth having such a lengthy process of voting? But if we're going to have quality voting, it might make sense to also increase the length of the epoch. These are obviously questions that need to be discussed. It's not like something that one person needs to come up with an idea about. But I want to make it basically more accessible to your everyday person. I think that we should definitely have some actual official Illuvium tutorials on like, how do you even do or like make a proposal? How do you go about making sure you've done the right stuff when making it, and then actually getting it like peer reviewed by the rest of the community? And what does that involve? Because right now, like, there's a bunch of people that are like OGs and they kind of just know how to do this stuff. And then there's everybody else. And then they come in and the gap of the knowledge gap between the two is just so huge, big that you often get like OGs somewhat frustrated by new people coming in. And it's like, how do you not know this basic information? And there's nowhere to have that education, because the people that are teaching it, like, they're probably spending less and less, because you can only repeat an answer so many times before you're just like a bit bored repeating it. Right. So I think that content, those tutorials, they need to be immortalized in official kind of tutorials so that people actually know how to access different things and have their questions answered for things like this, making governance more accessible. That's what I'm interested in doing. I think it was actually a perfect time to get all of this type of stuff, this groundwork in, probably in the last epoch, because like looking back, pretty much nothing happened last epoch. Like absolutely nothing, because there was nothing to do. Definitely, like if you're a council member last epoch, like they're doing stuff behind the scenes to assist, but like, you know, the team were dealing with the hack and with dealing with a lot of different stuff. Maybe like it wasn't the right time to do something like this. But I think that getting this groundwork, this foundation in before the main game comes out is definitely key, so that it's in place. And then when the game does come out, you know, that can already be there in place.
Be there, yeah. Actually, it's interesting because the whole thing that you're saying about the accessibility of elections and whatnot, because I think it was you, the last epoch, that kind of mentioned that we should do something like this, where we should be having these interviews with smaller nominees, because it's hard to get your point across just by text. And I think it was you that inspired me to do these conversations. So thank you for that, because I do agree with trying to make it more accessible. And I was talking with a couple of I won't discuss that, but I was saying another idea that we could do in the future is like actual debates. If we did have more time, have a couple of nominees on at the same time to debate it, but we can discuss that another time.
I think that would actually be good, to be honest, like having different people, like having those conversations out loud and actually having people be able to listen to them. Also having like an official Illuvium YouTube channel that's not the official Illuvium, but like an official Illuvium governance channel where everyone can submit like a 5-10 minute presentation of themselves speaking, or maybe like a 10-15 minute interview of each person. Somebody maybe interviews everyone, or they can be interviewed by different people and just submit one of their interviews. I don't know exactly how that would be put together. I've also like been planning to do these kinds of interviews of other nominees as well, and I still plan to do a few of them. It's just that there is actually such a serious time constraint that you can only interview so many people. Like, there's a week to nominate yourselves. Like, somebody might nominate themselves on the last day, and then they've got 3 days to do an interview. And then, like, we're all in different countries and stuff. Like, that doesn't always line up, right?
Yeah, because I was having carry on, sorry.
Having like a 1 week period to get all the interviews done, and then like a second week for everyone to be able to consume those interviews kind of just makes a lot more sense. And maybe even having like an official YouTube Illuvium like channel where all of these things can be collated, and those can be kind of integrated into maybe even the governance when it comes to the voting, so that we can see exactly who we're voting for. And as kind of you're doing, asking like the same sort of questions over and over, maybe like having the official interviews be a bit more short form compared to these, because we can obviously go on now for like half hour, but like having just like snappy to the point answers to things, just because not everyone's going to have the time to watch 10-hour-long interviews, because that's a lot of time.
Completely understand. Let's move on, man. So we're going to start getting into a bit more like the specific questions, the deeper questions, just to get your perspective on what you think the future of Illuvium and the DAO as a whole is going to be. So the first question I'm going to ask regarding these things is about the discussion around the ability to claim RevDis as now SILV2. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think we should be heading towards that direction? And what do you think the effect for the DAO is going to be either side, if you're for or against?
I mean, like, there's just, I don't think there's a serious question of whether or not we should do this. I think it's happening. It's going to happen.
Okay.
Like, the only reason this proposal hasn't happened yet, if it hasn't, is literally because, like, of the delays and stuff and the things they've been dealing with. Like, the logic behind it is just too bulletproof, and the only argument against being able to claim like your revenue distribution and in-game rewards and stuff as SILV instead of ILV, the only argument against it is like eventually we'll have too few ILV tokens. But that's not a serious argument, only because we can always do a token split at any point. So let's say like we've got 10 million ILV tokens in potential. Let's say it goes all the way down to 1 million tokens, and then we're at like, I don't know, an insane price per token, and then it just feels like they're too hard to get or whatever, or like at that point they can just put a proposal through and every single token of ILV can become 10 tokens, splitting it up, right? And then they can do that an infinite amount of times, so then this mechanism can just continue forever, just continually making it more scarce, which there's just no downside to, because some people are going to want to just claim that and immediately use it in the game, and you can't use ILV token in the game. You then have to sell your ILV token for Ethereum and then use the Ethereum in the game, and that's a few steps that you just don't need to have to do. So it actually creates ease of use for players winning prizes and for people claiming RevDis that want to play in the game. It creates ease of use for them, and for long-term holders, it creates increased scarcity of the thing that they are holding. So it just benefits everyone. Yeah,
cool. Yeah, I was actually interested because I thought that was the consensus as well. But you're now the fourth person I've interviewed, and before you, it was 2 against, and now it's 2 for. So I thought it was going to be completely for, but yeah, it was interesting to hear that there were both sides, and obviously before you was the against that was the majority of my interviews. All right, yeah, man. All right, so let's
what is their argument against it?
They've got different arguments. One of them is that they believe it's by doing that, it's benefiting the whales. Like the current token holders already, it's only going to benefit them. So it seems like that is the biggest like argument against it. That seems like the biggest thing. I need to watch those interviews to go deeper again and remember exactly what they were saying. Yeah. Because there were two different arguments, and yeah, but that was definitely one of the bigger ones.
I feel like we hear a similar argument when it comes to like a lot of things, when it of just like, let's not benefit the whales. And the thing about not benefiting the whales is, if you don't benefit the whales don't stay, and the whales have put tons of money into the protocol. You want whales to stay, you want whales to be benefited. We're not exclusively benefiting whales. Anything that benefits whales benefits non-whales that are doing the same thing as the whales. And everyone it just benefits everyone equally. It's just that the whales have more equity, so it benefits them.
benefit
the
more
more exposed you are to anything, the more its volatility affects you. And positive volatility is just positive.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing. I think we need to get over this whale thing, as a community as well. For example, I remember back when we changed the council members, instead of them getting paid 10 ILV per season, to be paid $5,000 instead per month. So
I remember that.
I actually disagree with that from even back then, because when if this becomes like $100 billion company, you've suddenly got people earning $5K a month that are responsible to make decisions that are going to impact this insanely large DAO. And they're being underpaid suddenly. So I think it kept the incentive structures in place to have a higher to have it be set in ILV.
Yeah, I always try to be impartial in these interviews, because I'm not trying to project my own thoughts, but I do think that equity is better than a 5K payout. I think equity incentivizes people a lot more. But yeah, I won't go deeper into that. That's just my quick opinion. All right, cool. So the next question, man, is we did mention that it was a pretty quiet epoch, the last epoch. And it didn't seem on the forefront for the community that there was much being done by the council members. What do you think, whether you're on or not for this next epoch, what do you think the priority should be?
So the number one priority, number one above all else, is ultimately to just not get in the way of the team. So we need to let the team do what they do best. Let them make the game. We don't want to overcomplicate it for the team so that they can't be efficient in giving us what we want more than anything else, which is the game faster, sooner, now. That's what we want more than anything, as well as it being, of course, at high quality. And I think the team is doing that, so the council shouldn't be interfering with that. I don't believe so. That's number one priority. And then the second priority that I think they should have, because honestly, staying out of the way, that's not a job. That's just that's just stay out of the way. That doesn't require effort. That requires lack of effort. So then what should we do? What do I believe council members should be doing in this next epoch is ultimately setting up changes to the council that will benefit the council long term, just foundation things. I think that even Kieran sort of said that that's things that should be happening in the next epoch. He said that before this epoch that's just passed, and I don't think too much has happened on that. But I don't blame the council members or anything. I think that there's been a lot going on that's kind of interfered with that, just in delays and different issues that have arisen. But I do think that what should be concentrated on is getting that groundwork set for the council, figuring out maybe should we have an increase in the number of council members. Maybe having 7 is a nicer number than 5, not just to increase it because I got 6th place last time and I would have gotten in if it was 7. That's not the reason. But for example, we should maybe make 1 out of those 7 spaces to be only for a founder or a member of the team. And then we say that the rest of the spaces cannot be occupied by a team member, for example. I think that would be a cool thing to do. That way we can permanently have Kieran or someone else on there, because having that connection to the team is important, and leaving that up to a vote, that almost doesn't make sense. But also having a founder take up one of the 5 spaces also, I don't think makes infinite sense, because 5 spaces isn't a lot. And I don't think there should be 30 people on the council, but 7 or even potentially 9, I think could be a nice rounded number for a larger discussion that isn't just a closed group of people that have just been there from the start. Apart from that, I'm not sure what else there needs to be focused on. Obviously, they're going to be voting this epoch on the land sale proposal, Illuvitas, pre-open beta, potentially the game launch, right? There's going to be a bunch of votes on that. So there's going to be a lot more votes this epoch. And that's going to be something that the council's also going to be concentrating on. Any debates that come up around any of those proposals that get made. But beyond that, any free time, like if the council members can actually do some work creating a better council for the future, rather than just any free time just putting it into their own projects and things.
Yes.
And I think that's one thing that I definitely have to offer, which is beyond the fact that I make YouTube videos, I have a bunch of free time that I can put into actually being a council member, because I am full-time. Like, I've quit my job. I've taken like 2 weeks off recently, just even making YouTube videos just to make this setup. But I'm completely set up now and free to employ myself into something like towards the benefit of Illuvium ultimately. Yeah.
Actually, because you kind of touched onto the next question about the size of the council. But before we go into that just a bit deeper, I'm just curious. I just want to dig a bit deeper into the things that you said about the priority this epoch should be about improving the council and things like that. Do you just have on the top of your head any ideas? Because I've had a couple of other nominees give some ideas, and I'm just curious where your head's at and how you think what the possibilities are to improve in that way.
So, as I sort of said earlier, definitely having like an Illuvium channel for nominees, changing the way that some of the timing of nominations and things like that. Beyond that, I would like to see those official Illuvium tutorials of like how to write a proposal, how to vote, how to submit a nomination, things like that. Because as more people join the space, like that gap between the people that know a bunch and the people that don't know anything becomes greater. And where is the access point for newcomers? And maybe newcomers weren't told, as something as simple as, we're never going to share links. All the links are going to be unofficial links. Unless you keep announcing that same announcement, there's always going to be someone new that comes in that doesn't know that. And having a go-to place on the Illuvium website that everyone can just share and just say there's a bunch of tutorials there on how to be part of the governance system, how to use the Discord, and just a 5 minute, a short 1 minute videos, and maybe 10 of them, I just think would really benefit the entire community. And at the moment, that job is kind of just being done by content creators and potentially guilds. I know there's guilds that are probably going to be creating educational content, but I don't see a reason why Illuvium shouldn't also create some just bare minor content. And I'm not even proposing myself to be that maker of that content. I think Andrew does a great job of that as the official Illuvium person that creates content. Beyond that, what else do I think needs to be changed about the council? I can't think of much else right now. No, and obviously, that's fine, if I get into that position, maybe I see more things. I do also think that it would be nice for any council meetings to also receive I remember there was talk a while back of recording them and having those recordings be public, having a history of all those recordings, or at least a written out conversation of each one. I think that would be useful as well.
Cool. Interesting, because some of the things that you pointed out didn't kind of match with some of the other nominees as well. So it is interesting that it's not just you that is thinking in that way. All right, so again, I'm going back to this now. You did touch on the size of the Illuvinati Council. So it sounds like you're obviously for expanding it. But I want to dive in a bit deeper with that, because I know that there's also been, and you touched on it, where you said that we should kind of keep one seat for a founder, for example. But I also have seen discussions of saying maybe we should have one seat for a content creator, which can represent the community in that way. One seat could be for guilds, representing all the guilds, things like that. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? If it's a good idea, are there any other seats that you would specifically say, all right, we need this?
So I definitely agree with having one seat at minimum sort of reserved for a team member, and then making the rest of the seats have to be non-team members. So team members shouldn't even be allowed to run, I believe.
Yeah.
And so there should only be 6 places, like if we expand this 8 to 7, only 6 places that people can run for, and the 7th place is reserved for a member of the team, and the team can decide internally who that member should be. That way, 6 against 7, like, you know, the people that are voted in always can outvote a team member, like, easily. Obviously, we've also got the defense of the EDAO, so, like, no proposals are going to go through if they're going to be detrimental. Should there be designated spots for a content creator for something else? I don't actually believe that there should. I think it would be nice to have like a content creator on there. I think it would be nice to have a community member on there that isn't like a total OG. You know, I think it would be nice to have, you know, like somebody like Santiago there, where he's not like constantly in the Illuvium Discord, but he's just really deep in the DeFi space and in the GameFi space, and just can actually be a genuinely meaningful advisor. And other people that are like OGs in the space, and as for like guilds, like, should there be a single person that represents all guilds? Like, definitely not, because there's nobody that can represent guilds. That doesn't. I don't even understand how that's possible. So I think leaving, like, if we expand it to 7 or to 9, having that one place for a team member and not allowing any other team members to join, I think is great. If it is 9 people, maybe having 2 of those be team members, I don't know. That these are all things that should be discussed by the community and ultimately decided by the community. And having those, let's say we have 7 places, 1 is for a team member, I do believe that the 6 other places should be completely voted on by the community each and every time. I just think it's a freer way of doing things, and trying to almost like have a content creator or have like X. Like it's like trying to fill a mandate. Like, that's not what we're doing. Yeah. We want to just see, like, we're all about free market and free will and freedom of choice here. Right? So that people can choose who they actually want to choose. Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. All right, man. Let's go into you again. A lot of these questions you're already kind of touched on a little bit. I'm just going to ask regarding extending the epochs. You've already kind of mentioned that it seems that you're, again, for that. You kind of mentioned why. Do you want to go deeper or kind of leave that as it is? It's up to you. Like, if you think we should extend it, how long should we extend it for? What do you reckon?
So, like, obviously, right now it's 3 months. Extending it to 4 or to 5 months, like, it almost feels like an odd number. So, like, 6 makes more sense. Yeah. Just because I like a nice number.
Just the aesthetics. Just the aesthetics of it.
Yeah. I know that Palimas, for example, they've actually set up their DAO, I believe, with a 6-month epoch, which, because having constant voting, like, there's obviously nothing wrong with having to, like, change. Like, if there is almost like a bad council member, like, they can still be voted out. Like, that's still a thing while they're in power. So having people have a full, like, 6-month run also means that these elections aren't happening. Like, I'm almost like, oh, what? There's another election coming up already.
Yeah.
And it's like,
that's how I felt.
Have we had enough time to process the previous election? And then asking people to engage in nominations 4 times a year. Like, it sounds, it's only 4 times a year, but, like, we have a limited lifespan over here, and we're all busy out here. So, like, if we can only have 2 elections a year, I think it would be much easier to then ask the community to spend that time engaging in nominations, have those nominations periods actually be extended so that we've got, like, a 1-week nomination period where people nominate, and then an actual 2-week period where a first week is spent, like, filming and creating those interviews, and the second week is spent, like, promoting interviews that have already been made. Like, people can keep filming interviews, like, no one's going to stop that from happening, but really giving the community the time. Because what if somebody's got, like, a week off exactly during those 3 days in between nominations and voting. Like, I think it would be nice to have that time so that more of the community can actually participate. And then the voting is obviously normally 3 days. If we're having it like be that long, maybe then have it so that the voting period is an actual week. So then we've got a week of nominations, 2 weeks in between, and then a week of voting. And that's a full month right there. Yeah. And giving it a full month almost is a lot cooler, but there's no point giving it a full month if it's going to happen every 3 months. It's ridiculous, right? So I don't think that we can extend it much more, like the nomination period, maybe like the gap in between up to a week at the moment. But if we do have it go to being 6 months, I think it leaves a lot more room for more quality debate and discussion around the nominations and for more like informed voting to take place. Having it be shorter epochs means the voting is less informed, but then very quickly we can actually see what went well, what didn't go well, and change who we voted for. So like there's definitely an argument for both sides there, but I think 6 months is just a little bit better, and we can only ask so much of community members in how much time they can spend engaging with something like this. So, No,
that's completely fair, and it's obviously well thought out. All right, Manuel, we've actually gone, we're already gone pretty long, but we're at the last 2 questions. So there's one last question, which is it's pretty fun. And then I've got one last question that I didn't send to you just because I want to get your, get the first reaction and kind of see, it's a fun way to end it out. So the last kind of serious question that I have is, and again, you kind of touched on all of these already, but if you personally could champion a proposal, what would that be? It doesn't even need to be in this epoch, just in general. If you personally could champion one proposal, what would that be?
So I definitely think it would be so if I do get elected, I mean, to be fair, even if I don't, I actually do want to be championing this proposal to do with, before even championing any kind of proposal, I definitely want to start getting the ball rolling just with community conversation around this, because you should never just propose something. You should first submit a sort of a rough proposal, have that peer reviewed essentially by the rest of the community, see what everybody else thinks. Because in any proposal, there are details, and those details, every single detail, different people might see something that you've totally missed. But it would be a proposal to do with changing maybe the size of the council alongside the size of in between nominations, pretty much everything that I've spoken about, that I've said that I'd improved about the council. I see that being an entire draft of a proposal that I'd like to write, and then each point can be discussed by the community, and then sort of over the period of maybe a month or 2, have that whittled down to the point where it's something that makes more sense, is coherent, and everyone has evaluated it, and everyone has chatted shit about every single point, so that we know where, because sometimes there's just a clear hole in an argument that you just completely miss, and you don't realize until somebody stabs it and cuts it right open and exposes it, and that is a necessary thing for any proposal to evolve.
Yeah. Now it's cool. It seems like from what I'm hearing, man, it honestly seems like the whole governance idea is kind of a top priority for you, just in the whole thing. So yeah, I respect that. I do respect that. All right. So let's end it off with a fun question, man. Cool. So we know that we know Illuvium is a studio, and we know that the next genre of game that's going to be coming out should be behind a proposal. If it was up to you to choose selfishly what the next genre of Illuvium game is, and for the good of the DAO, so you have 2 choices now: one selfishly that you just want, and one that you think is good for the DAO. What would those 2 genres be? Do not say the dating sim.
I think the dating sim would be great.
That's the one.
But I mean, weirdly, selfishly, I'd actually probably go everyone's gonna hate me for this, but I'd probably go for a first-person shooter, or
my
even a
God,
third-person shooter. Just because, like, I can't get my third monitor to work right now. I'm just like, I play Call of Duty on my PlayStation on it sometimes if I've got like 10 minutes spare or whatever. Because it's just, you don't have to think about it. You just keep rinse and repeating it. And it's just this mindless fun that you can just jump into. But I have no idea how you would actually gamify a first-person shooter. I'm sure there's definitely a way, but I know for a fact that I'm too shit at first-person shooters to I definitely wouldn't make money, but like I'd have fun, you know. As for like what do I think would be best for the DAO, I have heard Kieran and Aaron speak about a MOBA. I honestly think that a MOBA actually makes a lot more sense. I also, like, as a side thing that I've spoken to Grant about, would love to see like almost like a Roblox like sort of where people can build their own like maps and challenges and like obstacle courses and just have people go through like obstacle courses. I think that would be like beautiful to participate in, because I just like a good obstacle course and a nice challenge and almost like people creating their own narrative using those assets of the actual IP, Illuvium universe. I think that would be really cool to play with.
No, that's cool. Awesome. No, that's really interesting. All right, man. So that's pretty much it. That's all the questions I have for you. Man, I honestly want to say thank you so much for taking the time to actually have this conversation. Obviously, I've watched your videos online and we've chatted a bit, but it's nice to actually have this conversation, actually seeing each other. So thank you for that, man. I appreciate that.
It's been a pleasure, brother. Take care.
All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you found that informative, enjoyed it, like, subscribe, hit the notification bells. You know the drill. I'm going to link down below Vetemor's channel and also his official nomination video. So check that out if you guys want. And yeah, have a great day. Peace.